This is tape number 2 on the New Order of Barbarians.
Change. Nothing is permanent. Streets would be rerouted, renamed. Areas you had not seen in a while then would become unfamiliar. Among other things, this would contribute to older people feeling that it was time to move on. People would feel they couldn't even keep up now with the changes in areas that were once familiar. Vacant buildings would be left to stand empty and to deteriorate, and streets would be allowed to deteriorate in certain localities. The purpose of this was to provide the jungle a depressed atmosphere for the unfit. Somewhere in this same connection he mentioned buildings and bridges would be made so that they would collapse after a while. There would be more accidents involving airplanes and railroads and automobiles. All of this to contribute to the feeling of insecurity, that nothing was safe. Not too long after this presentation, and I think one or two even before, in the area where I live, we had some newly constructed bridge to break, another newly constructed bridge defect discovered before it broke, and I remember reading just scattered incidents around the country where shopping malls would fall in right where they were filled with shoppers. And I remember that one of the shopping malls in our area, first building I'd ever been in where you could feel this vibration throughout the entire building when there were a lot of people in there. And I remember wondering at that time whether this shopping mall was one of the buildings he was talking about. Talking to construction people and architects about it, they'd say, "Oh no, that's good. Buildings vibrate like that. That means it's flexible and not rigid." Well, maybe so. We'll wait and see. Other areas, though, would be well maintained. Not every part of the city would be slummed. There would be the created slums and other areas well maintained. Those people able to leave the slum for better areas then would learn to better appreciate the importance of human accomplishment. This meant that if they left the jungle and came to civilization, so to speak, they could be proud of their own accomplishments, that they made it. There was no related sympathy for those who were left behind in the jungle of drugs and deteriorating neighborhoods. And then a statement that was kind of surprising: we think we can effectively limit crime to the slum areas so it won't be spread heavily into better areas. I should maybe point out here, these are obviously not word-for-word quotations after 20 years, but where I say that I'm quoting, I'm giving the general drift of what was said close to word for word, perhaps not precisely so. But anyhow, I remember wondering, how can you be so confident that the criminal element is going to stay where you want it to stay? But he went on to say there would be increased security would be needed in the better areas. That would mean more police, better coordinated police efforts. He did not say so, but I wondered at that time about the moves that were afoot to consolidate all the police departments of suburbs around major cities. I think the John Birch Society was one who was saying, support your local police, don't let them be consolidated. And I remember wondering if that was one of the things he had in mind about security. It was not explicitly stated. But anyhow, he went on to say there would be a whole new industry of residential security systems to develop, with alarms and locks and alarms going into the police department so that people could protect their wealth and their well-being. Because some of the criminal activity would spill out of the slums into better, more affluent-looking areas that looked like they'd be worth burglarizing. But, and again, it was stated like as a redeeming quality see, we're generating all this more crime, but look how good we are. We're also generating the means for you to protect yourself against the crime. Sort of repeated thing throughout this presentation was the recognized evil, and then the self-forgiveness, saying, well, see, we've given you a way out. American industry came under discussion. It was the first that I'd heard of the term global interdependence, or that notion. The stated plan was that different parts of the world would be assigned different roles of industry and commerce in a unified global system. The continued preeminence of the United States and the relative independence and self-sufficiency of the United States would have to be changed. This was one of the several times where he said, in order to create a new structure, you first have to tear down the old. And American industry was one example of that. Our system would have to be curtailed in order to give other countries a chance to build their industries, because otherwise they would not be able to compete against the United States. And this was especially true of our heavy industries that would be cut back while the same industries were being developed in other countries, notably Japan. And at this point there was some discussion of steel, and particularly automobiles. I remember saying that automobiles would be imported from Japan on a equal footing with our own domestically produced automobiles, but the Japanese product would be better. Things would be made so they would break and fall apart. That is in the United States. So that people would tend to prefer the imported variety, and this would give a bit of a boost to foreign competitors. One example was Japanese. In 1969, Japanese automobiles, if they were sold here at all, I don't remember, but they certainly weren't very popular. But the idea was you would get a little bit disgusted with your Ford, GM, or Chrysler product or whatever, because little things like window handles would fall off more, and plastic parts would break that, had they been made of metal, would hold up. Your patriotism about buying American would soon give way to practicality, that if you bought Japanese or German or imported, that it would last longer and you'd be better off. Patriotism would go down the drain then. There was mention elsewhere of things being made to fall apart too. One of the, I don't remember specific items that, if they were even stated other than automobiles, but I do recall having the impression, sort of in my imagination, of a surgeon having something fall apart in his hands in the operating room at a critical time. Was he including this sort of thing in his discussion? But somewhere in this discussion about things being made deliberately defective and unreliable, not only was to tear down patriotism, but to be just a little source of irritation to people who would use such things. Again, the idea that you not feel terribly secure, promoting the notion that the world isn't a terribly reliable place. The United States was to be kept strong in information, communications, high technology, education, and agriculture. The United States was seen as continuing to be sort of the keystone of this global system, but heavy industry would be transported out. One of the comments made about heavy industry was we had had enough environmental damage from smokestacks and industrial waste, and some of the other people could put up with that for a while. This again was supposed to be a redeeming quality for Americans to accept. You took away our industry, but you saved our environment. So we really didn't lose anything. And along this line, there were talks, there was then discussion about people losing their jobs as a result of industry, and opportunities for retraining, and particularly population shifts would be brought about. This is sort of an aside, but I think I'll explore the aside before I forget it more. Population shifts were to be brought about so that people would be tending to move into the Sun Belt. There would be sort of people without roots in their new locations, and traditions are easier to change in a place where there are a lot of transplanted people as compared to trying to change traditions in a place where people grew up and had an extended family, where they had roots. Things like new medical care systems, if you pick up from Northeast Industrial City and you transplant yourself to the South, Sun Belt or Southwest, you'll be more accepting of whatever kind of, for example, controlled medical care you find there than you would accept a change in the medical care system where you had roots and the support of your family. Also in this vein, it was mentioned that he used the plural personal pronoun we. We take control first of the port cities, New York, San Francisco, Seattle. The idea being that this is a piece of strategy, the idea being that if you control the port cities with your philosophy and your way of life, the heartland in between has to yield. I can't elaborate more on that, but it is interesting that if you look around the most liberal areas in the country, and progressively so are the seacoast cities, the heartland, the Midwest, does seem to have maintained its conservatism. But as you take away industry and jobs and relocate people, then this is a strategy to break down conservatism. When you take away industry and people are unemployed and poor, they will accept whatever change seems to offer them survival, and their morals and their commitment to things will all give way to survival. That's not my philosophy, that's the speaker's philosophy. Anyhow, going back to industry, some heavy industry would remain just enough to maintain sort of a seed bit of industrial skills, which could be expanded if the plan didn't work out as it was intended, so that the country would not be devoid of assets and skills. But this was just sort of a contingency plan. It was hoped and expected that the worldwide specialization would be carried on. But perhaps repeating myself, but one of the upshots of all of this is that with this global interdependence, then national identities would tend to be de-emphasized. Each area dependent on every other area for one or another elements in its life. We would all become citizens of the world rather than citizens of any one country. And along these lines, then we can talk about sports. Sports in the United States was to be changed in part as a way of de-emphasizing nationalism. Soccer, a worldwide sport, was to be emphasized and pushed in the United States. And this was of interest because in this area, the game of soccer was virtually unknown at that time. I had a few friends who attended an elementary school other than the one I attended where they played soccer at their school, and they were a real novelty. This was back in the 50s. So to hear this man speak of soccer in this area was kind of surprising. But anyhow, soccer is seen as an international sport and would be promoted, and the traditional sport of American baseball would be de-emphasized and possibly eliminated. Eliminated because it might be seen as too American. And he discussed how eliminating this, one's first reaction might be, well, you pay the players poorly and they don't want to play for poor pay. so they give up baseball and either go into some other sport or some other activity. But he said that's really not how it works. Actually, the way to break down the baseball would be to make the salaries go very high. And the idea behind this was that as the salaries got ridiculously high, there would be a certain amount of discontent and antagonism as people resented athletes being paid so much, and the athletes would begin more and more to resent among themselves what other players were paid, and would tend to abandon the sport. And these high salaries then also could break the owners and alienate the fans. And then the fans would support soccer, and the baseball fields could be used as soccer fields. Wasn't said definitely this would have to happen, but if the international flavor didn't come around rapidly enough, this could be done. There was some comment along the same lines about football, although I seem to recall he said football would be harder to dismantle because it was so widely in the colleges as well as the professional leagues, and would be harder to tear down. And there was something also about the violence in football that met a psychological need that was perceived, and people have a need for this vicarious violence, and so football for that reason might be left around to meet that vicarious need. Same thing too with hockey. Hockey had more of an international flavor and would be emphasized. There was some foreseeable international competition about hockey, and particularly soccer. At that time, hockey was international between the United States and Canada. I was kind of surprised because I thought the speaker just never impressed me as being at all a hockey fan, and I am. But and it turns out he was not. He just knew about the game and what it would do to this changing sports program. But in any event, soccer was to be the keystone of athletics because it's already a worldwide sport. It's South America and Europe and parts of Asia and the United States should get on the bandwagon. And all this would foster international competition so that we would all become citizens of the world to a greater extent than citizens of our own narrow nations. There was some discussion about hunting. Not surprisingly, hunting requires guns, and gun control is a big element in these plans, and I don't remember the details much, but the idea is that gun ownership is a privilege and not everybody should have guns, and hunting was an inadequate excuse for owning guns, and everybody should be restricted in gun ownership. The few privileged people who should be allowed to hunt could maybe rent or borrow a gun from official quarters rather than own their own. After all, everybody doesn't have a need for a gun, was the way it was put. Very important with sports was sports for girls. Athletics would be pushed for girls, and this was intended to replace dolls. Baby dolls would still be around, a few of them, but you would not see the number and variety of dolls, and dolls would not be pushed because girls should not be thinking about babies and reproduction. Girls should be out on the athletic field just as the boys are. Girls and boys really need not be all that different. Tea sets were to go the way of dolls, and all these things that traditionally were thought of as feminine would be greatly de-emphasized as girls got into more masculine pursuits. And just one of the things I recall was that the sports pages would be full of the scores of girls' teams just right there, right along with the boys' teams. And that's recently begun to, after 20 years, recently begun to appear in our local papers. The girls' sports scores are right along with the boys' sports scores. So all of this to change the role model of what a young girl should look to be while she's growing up. She should look to be an athlete rather than to look forward to being a mother. Entertainment. Movies would gradually be made more explicit as regards sex and language. After all, sex and rough language are real, and why pretend that they are not? There would be pornographic movies in the theaters, on television, and VCRs were not around at that time, but it indicated that these cassettes would be available, and video cassette players would be available for use in the home, and pornographic movies would be available on these VCRs as well as in the neighborhood theater and on your television. It said something like people, you'll see people in the movies doing everything you can think of. Went on to say that, and all of this is to bring sex out in the open. That was another comment that was made several times, a term, sex out in the open. Violence would be made more graphic. This was intended to desensitize people to violence. There might need to be a time when people would witness real violence and be a part of it. Later on it'll become clear where this is headed. So there would be more realistic violence in entertainment, would make it easier for people to adjust. People's attitudes towards death would change, and they would not be so fearful of it, but more accepting of it. And not be so aghast at the sight of dead people or injured people. We don't need to have a genteel population paralyzed by what they might see. People would just learn to say, well, I don't want that to happen to me. This was the first statement suggesting that the plan includes numerous human casualties which the survivors would see. This particular aspect of the presentation came back in my memory very sharply a few years later when a movie about the Lone Ranger came out, and I took my very young son to see it, and early in the movie were some very violent scenes. One, the victim's shot in the forehead, and there was sort of a splat where the bullet entered his forehead and some blood, and I remember regretting that I took my son, and remember of feeling anger toward the doctor who spoke. Not that he made the movie, but he agreed to be part of this movement, and I was repelled by the movie, and it brought back this aspect of his presentation very sharply in my memory. As regards music, he made a rather straightforward statement like, music will get worse. And in 1969, the rock music was getting more and more unpleasant. It was interesting that just his word, the way he expressed it, it would get worse, acknowledging that it was already bad. Lyrics would become more openly sexual. No new sugary romantic music would be publicized like that which had been written before that time. All the old music would be brought back on certain radio stations and records for older people to hear. And older folks would have sort of their own radio stations to hear. And the younger people, their music as it goes, not hear the other group's music. Older folks would just refuse to hear the junk that was offered to young people, and the young people would accept the junk because it was identified them as their generation and helped them feel distinct from the older generation. I remember at the time of thinking that would not last very long because even young kids wouldn't like the junk. When they got a chance to hear the older music that was prettier, they would gravitate toward it. Unfortunately, I was wrong about that. When the kids get through their teens and into their 20s, some of them improve their taste in music, but unfortunately, he was right. They get used to this junk, and that's all they want. A lot of them can't stand really pretty music. He went on to say the music would carry a message to the young, and nobody would even know the message was there. They'd just think it was loud music. At the time, I didn't understand quite what he meant by that, but in retrospect, I think we know what the messages are in the music for the young. And again, he was right. This aspect was sort of summarized with a notion that entertainment would be a tool to influence young people. Won't change the older people. They're already set in their ways. But the changes would be all aimed at the young who are in their formative years, and the older generation would be passing. Not only could you not change them, but they're relatively unimportant anyhow. Once they live out their lives and are gone, the younger generation being formed are the ones that would be important for the future in the 21st century. He also indicated all the old movies would be brought back again, and I remember on hearing that, through my mind ran quickly the memories of a number of old movies that I wondered if they would be included, the ones that I thought I would like to see again. Along with bringing back old music and old movies for older people, there were other privileges that also would be accorded older folks. Free transportation, breaks on purchases, discounts, tax discounts, a number of privileges just because they were older. And this was stated to be sort of a reward for the generation which had grown up through the Depression and had survived the rigors of World War II. They had deserved it, and they were going to be rewarded with all these goodies. And the bringing back of the good old music and the good old movies was going to help ease them through their final years in comfort. Then the presentation began to get rather grim, because once that generation passed, and that would be in the late 80s and the early 90s, where we are now, most of that group would be gone. And then gradually things would tighten up, and the tightening up would be accelerated. The old movies and old songs would be withdrawn. The gentler entertainment would be withdrawn. Travel, instead of being easy for old folks, travel then would become very restricted. People would need permission to travel, and they would need a good reason to travel. If you didn't have a good reason for your travel, you would not be allowed to travel. And everyone would need ID. This would at first be an ID card you would carry on your person, and you must show when you're asked for it. It was already planned that later on some sort of device would be developed to be implanted under the skin that would be coded specifically to identify the individual. This would eliminate the possibility of false ID, and also eliminate the possibility of people saying, well, I lost my ID. The difficulty about the skin implanted ID was stated to be getting a material that would stay in or under the skin without causing a foreign body reaction, whereby the body would reject it or cause infection, and that this would have to be material on which information could be recorded and retrieved by some sort of scanner while it was not rejected by the body. Silicone was mentioned. Silicone at that time was thought to be well tolerated. It was used to augment breasts. Women who felt their breasts were too small would get silicone implants. I guess that still goes on. In any event, silicone was seen at that time as the promising material to do both, to be retained in the body without rejection and to be able to retain information retrievable by electronic means. Food. Food supply would come under tight control. If population growth didn't slow down, food shortages could be created in a hurry, and people would realize the dangers of overpopulation. Ultimately, whether the population slows down or not, though, the food supply is to be brought under centralized control so that people would have enough to be well nourished, but they would not have enough to support any fugitive from the new system. In other words, if you had a friend or relative who didn't sign on, and growing one's own food would be outlawed.
hope everyone can hear us. It's Sunday. I'm going to say Saturday, then I haven't had much sleep. Sunday, the 28th of September, 2025. And I asked my mate Mark Bajerski if he wanted to do another impromptu with about, an hour's notice. We said, yeah, let's do it at 6. So we decided we'd do that. I hope you, I can't say enjoyed that 30-minute countdown. Although it is a very interesting video, is that a group of 3 videos going on for about 6 hours, I do believe, by Lawrence Dunnigan, I do believe that. We'll talk about that in a sec, actually. But I'll introduce Mark. Hi, Mark.
Yeah, really pleased to be here. I like living in the moment, and these kind of impromptus are exactly how I flow in life. It's the best. It's like going out on a night, you're preparing all week. Remember when we were younger, we're all going out Friday night. You go out Friday night and then somebody just calls you one night and says, do you want to fancy going out now? Well, let's go out now. And we had the best night ever. What is that?
Yeah. Impromptu.
I
like the deep dive presentations. Obviously, it's difficult to do impromptu on deep dive presentations. You need to have your notes with you so you don't miss the information out. But I also like these chats. I know when me and Chris started up, I said to Chris, he said, what do you want it to be like? And I actually said to him, I want it to be like, if we're on the phone with each other, I want it to be like that. We talk serious. We take the piss out of each other. We talk serious. You know, there's no actual plan, and you go off on different tangents, and you don't get to an end game. You just have a conversation.
The problem with that is it doesn't fit with the script, and that's why you'll never be, huge. That's the whole point. I think I've realized.
No, do we want to be? Do we? No, do we want to be?
That's exactly what I'm saying. That you realize that, and you think about what people go through when they get to such big positions because they followed the script, and it actually rips them apart. It causes a nightmare in their life. Whereas us, we never get that far, but we have a really good life, and it's kind of really quite fun and happy, and we're not tormented all the time. I mean, we are tormented every now and again, but you're right. I mean, this is. There is a saying in the spiritual community: you only get as much as you can handle, right? That there is something in that, but there's also the fact that the mother says, "Well, what about my husband who killed himself?" You know, I understand that as all of these things, but it's kind of like if you follow what you know to be true in your heart and not the script, which is always trying to make you follow, then I think you'll have a much easier and happier life, Dom.
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to not go against the grain. It's pointless trying to swim against the tide. That's hard work. But just do your own thing at opportune moments, if you like, or as much as we can. We're all living in a prison, let's face it, right? Whether you've got some money, no money, whatever it is, time or no time, whatever it might be.
Or are you holding a flag?
Or you're holding a flag. Yeah, we all live in a prison. Sadly, we have to accept that.
We're free, Dom. We're free. What are you talking about? It could be worse. You could be living in Africa.
Yeah, I know. It's I mean, in Britain and Spain and Europe, we're imprisoned in a slightly different way to certain places that are getting lots of different oppression. Ours is a lot more electronic and subliminal oppression.
Yeah,
we get. There is some obviously physical oppression as well, but it's more, you live in a democracy. You're free. But then we're going to bring in a digital ID. But you're free. You can make your own mind up what you want to do.
Yeah, we're not bringing it in because of that.
We're doing it
stupid.
We're doing it for your own good.
Yeah, then they don't get a job. You know what I mean? And you keep your job.
Yeah.
And you know what? Every time you listen to one of these politicians trying to explain to somebody, whether it's with the vaccine, whether it's with the ID, have you ever noticed that there's a kind of struggle, there's a kind of lapse in their brain? They're trying to make truth of it where they know that they're lying through their fucking teeth.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. There is, I think I've just deleted it off here, actually. I've got videos of Boris Johnson being interviewed, and he's basically just lying through his teeth. And this is years before he became Prime Minister. Let me just see if I can find it. I'll try and play it in a sec. But it's not a phenomenon, is it? It's just how it is.
Well, spiritually speaking, when you try and break it down spiritually, you try and step out of this program, this illusion, this matrix, and you look at it and you think, okay, what's going on here, right here, at this moment where this person is deliberately lying because they've been told to? What is it about that being that is different from, say, you and I, who, even if we say to our partners a little fib because we don't want to upset them, like, of course you look beautiful, your bum's lovely in those jeans. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, but this is like, hang on a minute. This is like you are about to commit the greatest heinous act in the world, that is to help make people do something that could possibly kill them or imprison them for the rest of their life. Do you not know, as a being, that you are implicit? You're about to do something that is going to cause a ripple effect in this world, which is so demonic.
Yes.
And then you look at Tony Blair and you look at his face, you look at his demeanor now, and you say, okay, now I understand what happens when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at him. He's now been lined up, apparently, to run Gaza once it's been flattened and rebuilt.
Yeah, well...
I played this video.
Can't make this shit up, can you, mate?
If you really wanted to, just listen to this Boris Johnson line. I played this at the live event, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but yesterday. And this is one of the many videos I've got on file of Boris Johnson being interviewed and blatantly lying. But he ain't just lying about one thing here. He's lying about several things.
Let me ask you about some of the things that came up in the documentary.
Right. Well, I haven't seen it, so
but this happened in your life, so you know about this. The Times let you go after you made up a quote. Why did you make up a quote?
Well, this again, these are big terms for what happened. Well, I can tell you the whole thing. I mean, you're sure our viewers wouldn't want to hear more about it.
If you don't want to talk about the made-up quotes, let me talk about something.
It was a long and lamentable story.
Okay, but you made a quote up.
Well, what happened was that I ascribed events that were supposed to have taken place before the death of Piers Gaveston to events that actually took place after the death of Piers Gaveston.
You made something up. Let me ask you about another little...
I mean, I mildly sandpapered something somebody
Let me ask you about a barefaced lie.
Very embarrassing. I'm very sorry about it.
Let me ask you about a barefaced lie. When you were in Michael Howard's team, you denied to him you were having an affair. It turned out you were. And he sacked you for that. Why did you lie to your party?
Well, I mean, again, with great respect, on that, I never had any conversation with Michael Howard about that matter. And, I don't...
You did lie.
Well, I don't propose to go into all that again.
I don't blame you.
No. Why should I? I've been through, that question a lot with the... Watch the documentary.
Okay.
Why don't we talk about something else?
The programme also includes... Well, this is about your integrity.
Okay.
The programme includes your reaction as you listen to a phone call in which your friend, Darius Guppy, asks you to supply the address of a journalist so that he can have him physically assaulted. The words beaten up and broken ribs are said to you. And you, having heard that, you tell your friend, Darius Guppy, you will supply the address. What does that say about you, Boris Johnson?
Well,
aren't you, in fact, making up quotes, lying to your party leader, wanting to be part of someone being physically assaulted? You're a nasty piece of work, aren't you?
Well, Eddie, I think all three things I would dispute.
Right there, Dom, if you don't mind me interpreting, right there shows you that if you were there and you had just been outed, you would you wouldn't have done that. But if you would have been
ashamed.
It would have been not just ashamed, but you would have run away or got, felt terrible and whatever, angry, whatever it may be as the vessel of escape. But just look at this being. This being confronts it with great power, no idea how to get out of it, but doesn't even seem to be a human being with a reaction. And do you know what? I want to finish on this note, Dom. Shame on every single human being who votes for these types of monsters.
Yeah.
You are to blame, not them.
Well, yeah, you're being sucked in, and the amount of people now that are saying, Nigel Farage, whatever, or Tommy Robinson, or as Lance calls
Tommy's
him,
here. Tommy's here.
Tommy Rubenstein, as Lance calls him.
Tommy's here.
Yeah, he is.
Tommy.
Yeah, exactly.
Millions were singing.
I know. But also, many of them people that were on that actual march didn't even know what they were marching for.
No,
and that's just like people banging pots and pans didn't know what they were banging pots and pans for. But they get dragged into it. They get sucked into it because they get caught up in that energy that's created there. And I'm sure it was a marvelous energy where they're all together cheering and things like that. And you get drawn into it, don't you? You become. Yeah. But what they don't understand is that these, what the classes, whatever, far right, whatever, anti-immigration, flag wavers, they've split off. There's Farage and Tommy. At some point, they're going to meet again. And then people will vote for them. People will vote for it. Yeah,
they are meeting because they're calling for change through what is called the system. They're calling for change through the system.
They're asking
it's
for
like
it.
Religion.
They're asking for it.
Religion's the same. Oh, I hate you. Yeah, but you're still in the you're still in your religion. You're still in that energy. And this is the trick that dark plays on us. It has created something that people need. That is either a leader, a god, a guru.
Yeah.
And they've got it. They've got you. They've got you all.
Yeah. It's and again, Nigel Farage, all these people, they're going to lead you down this path. And it was quite obvious. A lot of people in the chat, we were talking about it, loads of people. This whole immigration thing has been brought in for a reason, which is digital IDs, right? Now, these things are going to happen whether we like it or not, right? But them people that were marching, most of them will vote for this digital ID.
Yeah, exactly. They will.
But not directly, but they'll vote for the people that bring it in.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said.
I know you
That's
did.
exactly what I mean. That's you're putting it in a brilliant way, but that's exactly what I mean. Somebody called Charlie Kirk died a couple of weeks ago. The most heartbreaking thing that again was shown to the whole world.
Yes.
Right? Everybody got to see it, all by design. And at that point, guess what happened? Religion got another foothold in the world. Christ is king. We're back again. Religion or Democrats. They pull you back into the two things every time. And this is what they want. They don't care whether you're on the left or the right because the body belongs to both of the wings of the left and the right. They don't care whether it's Judaism, Christianity. Doesn't matter because it's all in one body.
Yeah. And all religions, by the way, not just those two.
All of them. Every one of them.
Yeah. I did some rudimentary genealogy on Saddam Hussein and found out he's direct line through Muhammad and all the way. Now, whether these people existed or not, it's sort of irrelevant. But a lot of these characters and Nadim Zahawi, all through the same sort of genealogy in the Far East. Very interesting. But I'd like to say thanks to everybody who came yesterday to the live event before I go on. Me and Chris will cover this in more detail, I'm sure, this week. I think about 260 people there.
Wow, Dom, that's incredible.
Yeah. But, it's... I'm a bit overwhelmed. Honestly, I was overwhelmed by the people who turned out. I'm not doing this for accolades or anything like that. That's certainly not what we're doing it for. But it's really nice to see people. It's nice for people to pass on kind words and what have you, gifts. Somebody gave me a book here. I don't know if you can see that.
Wow.
Right.
Nice.
This lady or ladies wrote this about the nonsense in 2020. They've done like a book with pictures in it. It's called Tales of a Poisonous Onion.
Wow.
Presuming because it's got many layers. Memoir of a Pandemic, Gilbert and Burley. Another chap, because he said, Christian, he got him a bottle of wine, brought me a Shill Farm mug.
Oh,
Yeah, I
sounds
know.
like there's a lot of people who love you two guys. Was it just you two, or was there anybody else
Mark
there?
Devlin were there,
Bless Mark.
and
Yeah,
Trevor John
bless
was
him.
playing in between his music.
Oh, wow.
Trevor did a great job with his guitar playing, singing his Matrix songs. A lady
Brilliant.
brought me some honey as well, raw honey.
Wow.
It's her beehives in Sierra Leone.
Wow.
So she came back
Wow.
home, brought me 2 jars of honey.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, this it's got. Yeah. Anyway, the company's called Natura.
Natura.
They've got a load of
Natural.
Natura. Yeah. Skincare and bath salts and things like that as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and bear in mind, a lot of my genetics come from that side of Africa. So she brought it because she said it might actually benefit your ancient DNA.
Wow.
And it doesn't, as you'd understand, this is raw honey. It doesn't actually smell like honey, like your traditional honey. It smells like molasses.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows about black treacle, it smells like black treacle that we used to give it to horses.
Most honey that you get in jars, unfortunately, guys, ain't honey.
No.
Sorry, it's been treated.
You can. That smells alive. It's amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I'm yet to try it. But it was great to meet everybody.
How did it feel anyway when you were there? How did it feel on stage and looking at all those beautiful people looking at you? How did it
was held at the Barnyard Comedy Club. So it was in a slightly different venue to what we used to be in. And we I don't know, there were a lot of laughs there. And it was just a really good energy there. There was no, just the energy itself was overwhelming, let alone.
When you've got people who are like-minded and want the same thing, that's when you've got the tuning fork frequency and it vibrates higher. It's absolutely beautiful, isn't it beautiful?
Madness. It's crazy. But yeah, it was really nice. So thank you everybody who came down.
I wish I was there. That's some of the things I miss about England, that I'd like to be more involved with that. But probably if I was there, I'd be arrested by now anyway.
I don't think you would, mate.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I don't think you would. Well, it depends. Depends what you go, if you're going out to get that type of, which I don't think you would.
No.
But yeah, I showed some pictures of my early haircuts in the 70s and 80s.
What do you mean haircuts?
Well, I don't know if I've got them downloaded here to show.
You're talking about you had hair?
Yeah, actually, I had
you
hair.
Would never did.
My mum used to straighten it. I wanted a Jackson 5 haircut, and it ended up like a Planet of the Apes haircut. So that went down well. That went down well in a local school in Huddersfield. In 70s and 80s. Yeah. Called Cornelius off Planet of the Apes and stuff. Thanks, Mum. But yeah, and somebody said you look more like Diane Abbott.
Brilliant. It's great.
But that's what it was like. That is what it was like.
When we could laugh at each other, no, it wasn't. It was a piss take, as Yorkshire folk are. We just take the mick out of each other. But that seems to have disappeared now. Everybody's on tiptoes, eggshells. The kids are growing up to be so everything offends them. Yeah,
well, that video we're playing earlier, it's called The New Order of the Barbarians. I've got to say, I listened to that about 15 years ago, and we're actually going to try and clean those videos up, the background noise, because they're a bit poor. But some of the things he's saying there, bear in mind that was, his notes were from 1969, I do believe, the late 60s. Wow. And it was a 50-year plan. And that was the second one. There was the first 30 minutes of the second interview. And he's talking about IDs with chips and stuff like this being inserted.
Yeah, I heard that.
Right? He's talking about film reruns or remakes where they're going to bring back, to make it so that next generation feels like, nostalgic. Music, it's going to be adjusted to slowly degrade the populace from the 1960s. He was talking 1960s music through to today. Ironically, Mark was talking about that in his fantastic presentation yesterday about the frequencies. And one of the things that stood out was the sawtooth frequency that was in like Jimi Hendrix music and things like that. That Hendrix probably didn't know, but
Yeah.
the machinery that he was using created this sawtooth negative frequency that basically injected into people negativity.
Yeah.
And now you know why. I would think that what came to me yesterday was that while we were in London yesterday, Oasis were playing at Wembley. And Oasis, I'm sorry if there's any Oasis fans in there, they're a 60s or directly Beatles cover band. That's what I think anyway. They've just basically ripped off 60s music and they've earned a lot of money and got a lot of popularity for ripping it. But they've just reinserted that. I saw a lad from Huddersfield on train back, actually. Him and his son had been to Oasis to watch them at Wembley. And they've just inserted that frequency back into the next generation.
Yeah. Funnily enough, there are some people out there who vibrate at frequencies of darker energy, heavier energy, and some people who don't vibe. That's why I never listened, and I couldn't listen to the Beatles. I couldn't listen to Jimi Hendrix. I couldn't listen to Black Sabbath. I couldn't listen to AC/DC. I needed a more lighter vibe. I just couldn't be any. I remember being in America in a famous, I can't remember what it was, famous nightclub, and Nirvana was playing Smells Like Teen Spirit, and everybody was just getting off their rocks on it, and I'm like, I just got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. And I tried to like it, but I just couldn't. I tried, but I couldn't. So I think certain people vibes at certain frequencies because of their spirit.
Yeah. And I think, obviously, when you've got people in control of these machines, I know when we did a lot of the research, when we were doing a show with Mark, a 4-series, Paul Parter, called The Second Summer of Love, which basically was, the Second Summer of Love was, we worked out was basically like the first Summer of Love. A lot of the machinery that was being used, like the 808 and things like that, the drum machines, the electronic dance music machinery and computer programs, were all made by the military, all devised by military.
Everything is, isn't it? Yeah. Computers, everything.
Yeah, just like when, the Beatles and a lot of these big bands were signed to Decca Records, and Decca was actually making military equipment that was being used in the Vietnam War alongside. So you've got this hippie peace movement signed up to these Decca, right, and Thorn EMI. And Chris pointed out that Thorn is basically Omen's name, Damien Thorn. He was. Wow,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So
it's a coincidence, though, Dom.
Yeah, all of it's coincidence, mate. Yeah, they're actually making military equipment and at the same time signing up hippie bands to spread peace and love while using equipment that is basically military grade.
Yeah, and then you get your legalized medical medicines that are used in huge places back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, which are called nut houses, and they were the MK Ultras that everybody seems to come out of there and either shoot somebody or do something crazy, all connected to the very same entity that you're talking about.
Yeah, let's. I'll show this picture. One of these pictures, I can only find one of them actually. This is me and Chris on Unt Farm.
I've seen
it. Yeah, I've seen that one.
It. Yeah, great.
That's Chris hiding behind. That's my Diane Abbott haircut. But there's a better one than that. I'll have to try and dig it out. That's my old boy.
That's a nice head of hair. I would have never imagined that you'd have ended up like,
bald. Just say it, Mark. that Skippy there that Christian's holding with his wellies on. That Skippy where he said we're sat having a Sunday dinner, and he said to my dad, "Hey, Dad, where's Skippy? I haven't seen her for a while." He said, "It's there next to your fucking peas."
I tell you, your dad was one in a million. I absolutely loved your dad. Wherever I saw him, wherever he was working, he worked at my mate's Paul Dyson's house, putting up a fence. Wherever he worked, and I sat with Paul, and Paul said, "Have you met this guy?" I said, "Yeah, I've met him yet." He says, "I've never met anybody like him." And I'm like, "I know, he's one of a kind." And he said, "Yeah, he's just makes you laugh all the time." And
Just
you're the same. You've got similar trait, Max, to your dad. You make people laugh all the time. Your dad did it all the time.
I'm just going to get this point here that somebody said. Somebody put in 808 drum machines made by the military. Not necessarily the actual equipment itself. It's more the technology behind the equipment. We found that the actual Technic decks, were made by the military, not Technics themselves, but the actual technology behind them. They were made for, I think they were made for listening devices or recording devices during World War II, quite early on, prior to them being used as mixing decks. A bit like the technology for touchscreen, where touchscreen technology, like on a phone, for instance, there's no patent on it. Nobody actually knows where that technology came from.
Aliens!
They say it comes from DARPA, for instance. DARPA. But if you imagine, if you've got IP, intellectual property rights, right, and that is what your business is worth, the intellectual property. A lot of these technology businesses, they're worth nothing because they don't make money, but the actual business is propped up on the intellectual property rights. Yeah. A bit like a drug manufacturer inventing something, and then they've got to get it peer reviewed. Once it's peer reviewed, that is actually the intellectual property right. That it's been peer reviewed and it's been tested and so-called tested, and it proves that it does X, Y, Z. That's the value. But no one, there's no person, if you look it up, claimed responsibility or whatever you want to call it for inventing the touchscreen. And it's a little bit similar to a lot of this equipment that was used in music.
That's interesting, though, Dom, because something which really revolutionized the world. Nobody's saying I did it, which leads me to believe that something sinister is
Black
involved.
Mirror, isn't it? It's just Black Mirror.
Yeah, but I mean, like, there's people who said, I was involved with the hydrogen bomb. I hold my hands up, but for nobody to say anything, that's something pretty dark and demonic in another level completely.
Well,
as we
I can't find
now.
anybody. Maybe somebody knows that it's invented by Jimmy, whatever he was called, or Sarah such and such. But I can't find any. And I know Chris has looked. And
whoever did it and whatever company it was, we all know exactly what it's doing now to humanity and what it's doing to our children. And it's. And even if somebody did do it, I can understand why they wouldn't want to say that they did it, because it's like a drug dealer selling loads of drugs to kids and they all drop dead that night at a nightclub.
Yeah,
nobody's going to say they've done it. And just like the black screen, I don't think I think there's a lot of people in this world that are attached to something far more dangerous, darker, and I don't think we'll ever find out what it is. I think we're scratching the surface. Right.
This guy makes a good point. My mates at Microsoft in the early 2000s worked on the bounce when you pull down and refresh, and it got bought by Apple. I'm sure there are some organic development, but who put the idea or
reason there? Exactly. That's exactly what you're saying.
So when you think about it, we give too much credit to these people. I'll say people, the cabal. They haven't got the creativity that us mere mortals have. That's what makes us all different.
But so could it be, Dominic, that it's Dom? Could it be that there is an extraterrestrial element to this? That
we don't mean green men or anything like that. It could be anything. It could be, but we don't mean.
No, I'm talking about something far greater than what we are in the sense of knowledge and wisdom, and they're far more advanced. Like, I still can't get my head around that we used to work on a telephone that we used to dial, and now we're here. And it's like fiber optics. It's like what I normally get is, all right, so you don't give people credit enough for their amazing inventions. That's normally the comeback. And I'm like, no, yeah, you're probably right, but something feels very off.
Well, mobile telephony, I'm sure, was developed by ARPA, or part of ARPA, which was a forerunner to DARPA. I'm sure it was invented by the American They were the ones that made it. They were Motorola the business, but behind it was the security agencies in America. And obviously, Jeff Bezos' dad was a director at Harper, and he was one of the first directors at DARPA.
Oh, yeah.
And they developed the internet. So it stands to. Also, when I was younger, Mark, I always used to think, well, hang on a minute, how can, right, going back to 1850 or 1900, when we couldn't get around like we used to do, we used to have to get a steamship across, it took you weeks to get somewhere. How can people be inventing the exact same things at exactly the same time?
Exactly.
Right? Like a vacuum cleaner or a light bulb or an
exactly.
aeroplane or a car,
unless
motorbike.
There's some manipulation somewhere.
Yeah. Some energetic download.
For sure. Yeah, and that's really interesting. I mean, I think when we talk about DARPA, HARP, CERN, all of these companies, we tend to think that they're an individual company, but actually they're just all part of the same, they're all arms of the same body. And to me, the military industrial complex that is worldwide, global, that controls different parts of the world where you can't go, you can't fly over. They also have places all over the world underground that you can't go to. And there's people who have worked there and said, oh yeah, there's alien technology that we've been trying to understand for millennia, forever. So it's like, it kind of makes sense when you listen to these guys saying that, yeah, there's zero gravity, energy, or E50.
Chris did a great design of the week. You won't be able to see this here. Just let me get rid of our, just let me turn the camera off. Hide cameras. Here we go. So let me hide your camera for a second. So what it was meaning by this is, so you've got the people running this shit down at street at whatever, this dimension level, like, I don't know, the upper table of the cabal, if you like. With all due respect, your worship, we have received no new tech for some time now. So this was aimed at the tech possibly used on 9/11. If the 9/11 operation is a success, you will receive your request, which will be a useful tool for your needs and ours. It will serve up to and beyond our 2020 plans. So it's like we're getting fed this piecemeal, this technology, by a powerful force that allows us to use it when they say we can use it. And again, we're just having a conversation here, so don't take anything we say. I see a lot of comments after saying, "Oh, I disagree with that. That's bullshit." We're not actually saying we know what we're talking about here. We're having a theoretic conversation.
We're having a chat.
So, yeah, we're just having a chat like you would having a cup of coffee, or if you go to a pub, have a pint. That's all we're having. So, yeah. Anyway,
I look at that and actually, my intuition tells me that there is truth in that. That's it. I don't know how, I don't know why, but my intuition normally leads me and helps me along my journey quite well. And that actually makes sense. And I told you this before, Dom. I told you that I've sat with people that were incredibly wise from all over the world, traveling all over the world and teaching me when I first started my journey as a healer, telling me that there are bloodlines. There are bloodlines that spend all their working life in creating disaster in the world because they need to create it for their masters, their owners. So the energy that is happening all day long, whether it's somebody just got shot by, oh, it was this, or whether it was buildings collapse, or whether it's a new war coming, or whether Trump is saying, we're right, we now need another war. It's all by design. It's all created to cause people the greatest fear. That's it. Fear is the commodity of this age right now.
Yeah. Oh, fear and trauma.
Yeah.
Fear and trauma. I'm going to ask, I think Dave Murphy's in chat. I'm going to ask him if he wants to come on for a bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
As well have three old bastards on.
Do you know, I was just thinking, Dom, right? I was thinking the other day that I think most of us spend most of our time thinking that we've got the right answer. And I think that we've all got right answers. All of us.
Yes.
All of us. You're right.
We get
all right.
Even, let's call it truthers, become very dogmatic. And I think we've probably, pieces of what we've talked about, pieces of what we discuss, you put them all together you've probably got a very clear answer there.
And that's why they don't want to put us together.
Yes. Yes.
That's why they don't want us to talk. That's why they don't want us to come together, because there is something in humans inside the spirit that connect to each other, that come up with resolution, new ideas, new ways of improving life for the better, not for the worse. And they don't want that. They want us to hate each other and call each other your religion, your politics. They want us to hate each other, because that bully in the playground wins all the time when you all fear everything and fear them.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, it's true, isn't it? You can't argue against any of that sentiment at all. So one of the other things that that guy mentioned in that New Order of the Barbarians was, this was sort of right at the beginning, was girls or stroke women would enter sports and it would start running alongside men's sports. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, by the way. But that has started to happen. They were speaking about this in 1969 at a conference with a load of doctors there, saying how they were going to reduce population and control the world at a small conference in the United States. And then if you speed it on to, say, Aaron Russo being interviewed, he's talking about ID chips being chipped into you, and you won't be able to go anywhere without showing your chip. And if you disagree with the government, you'll be marked down. A bit like Black Mirror. We're talking about Black Mirror. It's very similar, isn't it? Yeah,
exactly. And that's where we're going right now. That's exactly where we're heading to. We're at a precipice. We're at the very point now where, don't worry, we've got it in this country. Everything's fine. Stop worrying. It's all fine. Yeah, right. Okay, pal. So you can't see beyond what's happening, and that's the problem. That's the problem. They create the very thing there where everything is fine, so that they can use that as everything's fine, so that then everybody else follows suit, and then they apply the boot on the head. People just can't see that you're run by bullies who are narcissistic monsters, soulless. And what they want to do is anything they can to make you give them your power. And that's what they're doing. And if you don't see it that way, then unfortunately they're going to win. And the reason why you don't see it that way is because you wouldn't do it.
I was coming back through train station today. And when I've been to London, I mean, I go 2 or 3 times a year to London on a train. I'll take a big case because I can't be faffing about with little cases. Anyway, long story short, push it through the gates. I've been doing it for, I don't know how many years, decade plus, yeah? This time, on Friday, the guy said, you can't push it through this gate. I said, you've got to go through the big gate there. I said, I've been doing it for 10 years anyway, I just pushed it through anyway. Coming back, a guy stood in front of the thing saying, you can't push that big gate. It is that guy's fault. He's been given the orders to do that, right? Mm-hmm. But the thought process behind it is to stop you doing something. That's one simple example of millions of different little things, that they do to slowly stop you.
It is, Dom, but then there's 100 people lining up when their boss says, who wants to stand here and tell people not to do that?
Yes, because they want that job. They want that. Just
exactly
like
why I said
warden.
The world is going to probably end up in the same energy as China, because we've wanted it. We've brought it in. We want it. Yeah. And that's what's happening. And they don't even realize they want it.
No,
they do.
No. We sort of asked, I got that feel. These people, I'll call them the millennials.
Yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody in the chat, but we've all got kids who are millennials. Yeah. It was King's Cross, by the way. I'm speaking to somebody. But it wasn't King's Cross that told me to do that. We're back in Leeds. Anyway, the millennials are asking for this. They're asking for it. Not
totally.
Obviously, but
they're asking for it because they've been brainwashed into asking for it. It's sleight of hand. It's what an illusionist would do. So if you go to a magician show and you get hypnotized, they will whisper in your ear, and then you'll say, no, I want this. And then the hypnotist will smile. You give them, they give you what you believe you want.
Yeah.
And what you want is you don't even know why you want it. When you ask people, why do you want it? They don't even know why they want it.
No. Pretty sad, isn't it? Pretty sad.
It's incredibly powerful, the energy that this world is slowly now becoming. It's like, wow, you can see how manipulated human beings are. And like I said, you just need to get 100 human beings from an audience out of 1,000, get them on stage and get a hypnotist to hypnotize them, and you'll see how many of those human beings actually can't be hypnotized, and it's only a fraction.
I actually said to me wife, what we're witnessing there with these two guys, bear in mind, he said, right, you'll have to go through that disabled gate with a big case, like, bear in mind, I think Dave's joining us, actually. I'll let him in a sec. Bear in mind that I said, I think we're witnessing the first, that is brain damaged people. I know it sounds a bit harsh. I'll try not to say it.
I don't think it's brain damaged. It's brain manipulated.
Yeah.
It's a manipulation and it's a hijack.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
All right.
Have you? Do you know Mark?
No, I don't think I've ever met you. So, hi, Mark.
Very pleased to meet you, Dave. I've listened to you many times. You're an amazing soul, and really honoured to be here with you tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Oh gosh, no. Well, I stepped away for a little while, so I don't know what you're talking about at the moment. So
yeah, we're drifting on about most things, mainly about, I suppose you could say, attachment control from the entities that are controlling us. But we're talking about IDs basically, but how people have been, they're really asking for it themselves, especially the millennials are asking for the control. So it'd be good to hear your thoughts on that. Well, the muggles, as you call them.
They're only asking because they've been conditioned for their whole lives to want it. You watch any science fiction show, it's all a dystopia and leading to this idea, the same ideas over and over and over again. But I don't think it's going to actually come to pass, because I think we've been talking about it enough, right, for long enough, so that it's kind of permeated even into the minds of the muggles. So
he calls muggles, by the way, NPCs. That's what.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. I like muggles. It's nice.
Yeah, it's less. Harmful.
There's no ego. There's no ego as much in that at all. No. It's lovely.
So I think we're going to see another poll tax reaction. Yeah.
Remember that, yeah.
The people are just going to say, no, I don't like the idea of that, and push back. And the only thing we have to be wary of is what happened with poll tax is that we celebrated and we got so happy that we stopped it. We didn't notice they slipped it in as council tax. Yeah. So we just have to be vigilant, when we overturn this, that they don't sort of slip it in some other way.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I would have a slightly different disagreement because of what I've seen just in the past 2 years, and that is, my argument would be to you, Dave, is what about all these people, podcasters, spiritual people, everybody that I know that I'm looking at, are now telling the world about some subject that is so powerful, and yet they've got ear pods in.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
If you don't want to equate in it, how many people are actually realizing what realization is. I think there are definitely more people listening. When I have a conversation now with people, it's not like I were having a conversation 10 years ago. Good point.
No. There are various levels of awakening. Yeah?
Yes.
And you've got a whole load of people who only woke up through COVID.
Yes.
So they're at a level where they understand, the government trying to kill us all, but they don't understand the depth of everything else. The cry of the muggle is not everything's a conspiracy, Dave. But the truth is, yeah, everything is a conspiracy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to say.
So yeah, they're awake to certain things, but they're, sometimes their reliance on convenience, like having ear pods that don't have wires to them. Yeah, well, that's not too bad, a bit of fluoride, not too bad, all that
They don't
stuff,
realise it's a massive net, and all the fluoride, wireless earpods, all these things are put there to capture everybody, aren't they?
But actually, what Dave just said was a really important thing. Dave said it's not going to happen, but then he said, "But be careful, everybody, because they're going to do it some other way."
Yes.
Yeah,
It's
well,
sleight of
no,
hand.
that's not quite what I said.
Oh, go on.
What I said was be vigilant because they will try and slip it in, in some other form that we don't immediately recognize, but it will be the same thing.
You know what, Dave? I've come to the point and realization that everything that I'm looking at, everything that I'm talking about, everything that you talk about, and I listen to you and I listen to Dom and I listen to all the podcasters because I'm always listening to people. I'm listening to the religions. I'm listening to the politics. I'm listening to people who are the truthers. And all I see is that all we do is talk and the system seems to continue doing what it does. That's where I am now. And I don't like myself.
That's true. That's true, but a lot of that is illusion as well, because they never let us see where they fail. So when they do fail, they're so slick about it. We just see, the agenda's still moving on. We don't see their failures. Okay,
that's one of the things I just said, Dave, that we give them too much credit.
Yeah,
give these people, these entities, too much credit.
I don't give them credit. I just see what's happening. I look and see what's happening, and I listen to people, and I feel so distraught and alone because I'm talking
if it was so
language.
easy, though, Mark, if it was so easy,
yeah, I know,
we would be taken over now.
I know, man.
So there's a reason why it's not happened.
And there's also a reason why you feel that way, because it's designed to make you feel that way.
Yeah,
helpless. Yeah.
Yes, everyone's meant to feel helpless and
pissed
concerned,
off,
worried, upset, scared, whatever. So your emotions are on high alert. And
totally at the moment.
Yeah, those who are emotional are easily led.
Very emotional, very sensitive, very empathic in the sense of seeing things, feeling things.
I'm actually seeing that a lot, Mark.
20 years of healing people, and right now it's like I listen to people. I go by what I'm hearing outside, people on the streets. I go
Did you
by
think
that.
as well,
I don't
though?
go by the internet because only a few of on the internet are knowing and seeing of truth. I go about what's happening outside here. That's the truth. And that's what scares me, because nobody even knows what's happening out there.
You now have people with diabetic patches on that are linked to a bloody Wi-Fi. I mean, how's that? Anyway, that's another. I know going down a totally different.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Sorry, Dave,
the system is continuing and it's growing, and it's forever. Like, when are people going to wake up? Dave says, well, people wake up at different times. They see different things. They're awake to absolutely. I agree with all of that. But like I said, it's like a little bit disheartening right now, because I know, and you probably know, that if ID comes in, it's a game changer once again.
Well, why do you think they've Starmer and in the US are announcing it now, right? If they were clever, they would have stuck to the original plan of making life so terrible that nobody's got a choice. They have to beg the government to do something. Well, I'm not talking about the awake people. I'm talking about the muggles. Yeah. The plan really was to make life so bad, so uncertain, so worrisome, that we beg the government, do something, and they say, well, you know what, we can bring in this, and this will do it, and people will clamour for it. But no, they've basically shot their shot too early.
Yes.
No.
Well, I really hope so, Dave. I really hope you are 100% right, pal. I really hope so.
That happened quite obviously with the 2020 nonsense as well.
Yes.
Lots of people were in the garden in the sun, enjoying the furlough money, getting drunk, having barbecues. But that soon wore off, and people were starting to ask questions that nobody around them was dying. There weren't bodies in the street. There weren't all this nonsense. People realised it. I know there were a lot of fucking morons as well, don't get me wrong. But a lot of people during 2020, like 9/11, realised very quickly.
Well, it's the reason I think it is why they rushed this in, just like they've rushed the COVID plan, is that they're running out of time. Okay.
For what? What does that mean? I hear that a lot. I'd really love you to elaborate on running out of time.
Well, first of all, I go by the Old Testament, and the whole thing's written in the Old Testament, front to back. Yeah. Okay. And it does say that that at the end they're basically running out of time, and they're trying to rush, and they're trying to bring all this in. The reason I think they're rushing is because the upper echelons are dying off. Right? Literally, they're leaving this place. So you've got the upper echelons who are running this thing.
It does feel like that as well, Dave. It does feel like that. Yeah.
Just think of all the elite that we've seen leave just recently. I think Klaus Schwab is dead. I think he died a while back, and that's why he stepped down. They won't announce it. I think he died. I think, Charlie Sausage Fingers is dead. I mean, the Queen died 4 years before they announced it. I think the upper echelons are dying off. It's the middle management that are still running, trying to keep this thing going.
Your Bill Gates type of guys.
Yeah, the ones that are up front. Yeah. They're trying to keep this running, but they're not getting any instructions from above anymore, or not as much. And so, that's why, just after the pandemic fizzled out, they were like, oh, what should we do? Let's do another pandemic.
What happens, Dave, when they run, like, I'm sorry, I have no idea about the Bible. I never read it. What happens in the end then? Who wins, and then what happens? Can you elaborate on that, just to bring a bit of a joy at the end of this chat?
Okay, at the top of this, it is a battle between we wouldn't call it a battle. It's a disagreement between the Most High and the fallen angels at the top of this. Okay, and it filters down to the representatives of the Most High and the representatives of the fallen angels. The representatives of the fallen angels are what we would call the Anglo-Saxon Empire. So, that one bloodline that went all the way from Babylon through Rome and Greece, and then to Germany, and then to this country, and then to America. Yeah, that one empire.
And when you look at it, Dave, you can actually see it, not just from doing genealogy and that, but it does shift like that. They've shifted a group of people, again, the Puritans and people like that, went en masse over to the States and had a little enclave in certain areas of America, these different religions, didn't they, and bloodlines.
And you did know that it was a toss-up whether America was going to speak English or German.
Right.
They weren't sure which one it was going to be. So, and also you can look at their symbol in the Old Testament. Their symbol was the eagle. They were symbolized as the eagle. Right? And so you can follow that eagle as they took over countries all around Europe, and the eagle was centered in certain power centers. So the three power centers in particular, Vatican, City of London, and Washington DC. Yeah. In this country, it's a bit different. It was the eagle mixed with the lion, the griffin. Yeah. So, but that's another story. But what I'm trying to say is the eagle, you can follow their progress around the world by looking for their symbol. Yeah. Just like they keep doing their hand symbols and whatever, right? They leave their symbols everywhere. Yeah. So the story basically says that they lose in the end. They lose.
Really?
Yes.
And what happens when they lose then? What happens to the Muggles? What happens to us?
Okay, so the main prophecy that isn't in the Standard Bible, it's in the thing called the Apocrypha, in a book called Second Esdras. It basically says, it talks about the three-headed eagle. Okay, now I've just said the eagle is that bloodline, and the three heads are Vatican, City of London, and Washington DC. And it says the middle head, the strongest head that put the whole earth in fear, I'm going to call that America, because America has got military bases in every country, and you put a foot wrong, somebody put the eagle has landed. Yes, just step aside a bit. There's a line in the book of Obadiah, which is about this bloodline. Just one chapter about this bloodline in the end of days. Okay, it says, "Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle and set thy nest among the stars, then shall I bring thee down." So, who's the eagle that has set its nest among the stars? That's America. Yeah, because the first word supposedly from the moon is Tranquility Base here. The eagle has landed. That's no accident. Right? That was chosen specially. So just saying, the eagle has set their nest among the stars. Anyway, so basically it says that the middle head, America, is going to disappear without a fight. And that's where I think we're going now. We're going to see very soon, I think, America disappear. And then it says the other two heads are going to fight each other, and one head's going to take the other one out. And finally,
I hope we're around to see this, Dave. I hope we're around to see it.
I think we will be. I think we're very, very close now, right? Because we can see the way they're rushing to put all this in. It's like we're accelerating to a point. And
you could see that during the 2020 nonsense, couldn't you? That they were making it seemed like they were making it up as they were going along. Another scariant, another this, another that.
The thing is, Dom, it's already there. It's in China.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm like, I'm listening. And I'm really trying to.
But I think, Mark,
I want it.
Whatever it is, where I view myself. I'm not saying I'm speaking for you guys or anybody in the chat. I'm an observer.
Yes.
We're looking at things and equating it all. We don't have to be involved in this bollocks if we don't want to be. We are part of it because we're in the matrix, if you like, but we don't have to be because mentally we're not. And that's what my frustration. I'm not.
But spiritually, you are, Dom.
But I'm not frustrated by people, NPCs or Queer Stalin, for instance, because I'm not like him. I've got no interest in being part of their comedy show. Clown
Not
World.
just that, you're above that energy anyway, because you already know what he's saying is bullshit. So you don't get involved with the bread and circuses. You're above that. Even though you point out this to everybody, you show. What I do is same as you. But yours is more on a political mindset because you're showing people what's happening. Mine is as a healer. I show people how to heal who are fresh and new to this field of healing energy work. And I give them that and I help them along that journey. So I think we're all part of, part of the same
just
thing.
Just like Dave's. To some people, I've seen someone in chat saying they don't know what Dave's on about, which is fair enough because I can get that. When I don't mean they're being disparaging there, Dave. I think when we're going into these called netherworlds, it is difficult to follow for anybody. Going back to your analogy that everyone's awake at different times and waking about different things,
Well, if I'd started a while back and I gave a bit of background to what I'm saying, maybe people would go along. But
no, Dave, you're amazing at what you say and do.
Hey, Dave, your line's echoing. You haven't got the YouTube channel open at the same time, have you?
No, I don't think I do. Maybe I do. I don't know.
It sounds okay to me.
Oh, does it? Maybe it's mine then. Okay, it's all right for everybody.
It sounds fine to me. It just sounds as if it's further away, like the microphone's part of the computer. Whereas
that's all right though.
We've got microphones. That's the only difference.
Maybe it's my end that's playing up a little
bit. But no, Dave, I love listening to you, mate. I love it because I think there's truth in everything. I think there's truth in the Bible. I think there's truth in everything. But we're all trying to dissect it the best we can. All of us. And I think I said to Dom, I think we're all correct in a certain degree. I think we've all got it, but we just don't know the full picture. So we're just trying to, what we feel is going to happen. What we feel is, it's like, with politics, when somebody says something, the majority of the earth normally get it and say, this guy's full of shit. The majority will feel for that energy because they're all connected to the same energy. I think we all know there's something wrong, but we don't know exactly what it is. So we're all trying to understand.
No matter what level we're at.
I don't know. What does Dave think?
I wouldn't say that everybody does. I think the NPCs, and there are a lot of them out there, they don't. They just
not totally.
Follow whoever's in authority. They'll do whatever they say.
Yeah.
And I've seen that firsthand. That I don't want to sort of cover old ground, but when we were shutting down a vaccination centre one time, I was dressed in my peace constable's outfit, but it got really hot.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that.
It got really hot, so I went back to my car. And I changed into a high-vis vest, and I had my lanyard on, I had my body cam on, and I went back to the vaccination centre. And I was away from the centre talking to a couple of people, and all the muggles who were coming along to get their shots saw the crowd of people in front of the vaccination centre and came straight to me to ask me what was going on. Because I was in the uniform of somebody in authority, and I was able to turn them away and say, I've been talking to these anti-vaxxers, and you know what? They've got a good point. They told me this, that, and the other, and I'm not going to get mine. And they were like, "Oh wow, thank you." And they walked off.
That's how easy it was to change somebody's mind.
Just to become the authority, and they follow authority.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So what you're saying is that muggles will just simply follow and obey, and that's it. That there's no more than that.
Yes, because in one of my talks I talk about where I think these muggles came from. The
Go on.
NPCs.
Not the test tube babies.
Just hang on a minute. Do me a favour. Log out and come in, because you're definitely echoing. Somebody else has mentioned it in the chat. Just come back in, will you? I'll kick you out. Come back in, because it might we might just got some sort of like a loop going, an echo loop. Come back in though. I want to hear where these NPCs come from.
Well, hang on. Before you do that, what if I put headphones on?
Yeah, let's have a look
and see if that actually changes anything. There we go. All right. How's this? Is it? Oh no. It's not my end.
Yeah. It might be my end. It might just need to cut the loop or something like that. I'll remove you and then come back in, mate, please.
Okay.
Because I want to hear this story. Very interested to hear where he has said it to me before, where he thinks that.
Is he talking about the Cabbage Patch?
I don't think so, no. But
okay.
Okay. We did get into it, but when you do an hour and a half conversation.
No, totally. I get
it. It's difficult because
you're right, Dom. You're right.
You don't cover everything, do you? You just jump in and out.
I'm not jumping. I'm jumping in and like questioning. I'm really 100%.
I know you are. It's like this lady is. I presume it's a lady, or this person saying I wasn't being rude. He or she didn't understand. I get that. There's not wrong with that. Not wrong with asking questions.
No, definitely ask questions. For God's sake, don't ever stop asking questions. Yeah. And if somebody tells you to stop asking questions, then
don't listen to him.
Run.
Ask him a question. Are we going there, Dave? Have we broken the loop, or are we?
Okay. Hopefully this is better. I can hear I can start to myself now anyway.
Yeah, it was working perfectly when you first came on. There were no echo at all. It will last 5-10 minutes. I tell you what, if you go into settings, there is, if you go into audio, there's an echo cancellation. Just see if that's on.
Okay, let's have a look. Yes, it is on.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Pass then.
Sorry.
Don't know.
Unable to access camera. What's going on?
Yeah, you can do all of it there.
I'm not doing anything, pal. Trust me.
There you go. Oh, I don't know where you've put you now. Fucking hell.
Something. I'm going to come out and come back in again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's a good idea.
All right.
No, hang on a minute. I think it's me that's done that, mate. Hang on, fire.
You've done it.
There you go.
Yeah, it just can't find the camera for some reason.
All right, I'll boot you back out. Come back
Hey,
in.
Hey, good. Let's just even if it does echo a bit, we can still hear him.
Yeah, it's fine. It's not terrible. So for the last sort of 10 minutes of this, because we're trying to do an hour, but obviously generally we say an hour and it ends up going on longer. But let's see where you think these Muggles NPCs actually. I won't say come from, but.
Well, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this, Don, but here goes.
Talk about it, but Mark hasn't. Yeah.
Right. So, if you've heard of the incubator babies of the last century, so late 1800s.
Cabbage Patch, we called them.
Yeah, Cabbage Patch babies or incubator babies.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, in the late 1800s, 1893 was the first time they were heard of. And that was in Chicago World's Fair, where they had a massive building called the Baby Incubator Building. But there was, thousands of babies, no word of where the mothers came from. Yeah. No word about the mothers at all. It turned out that 2 years before, there was a guy called Hans Dreich who invented cloning. So put two and two together, I believe they cloned all these children. Right, and a couple, 6 years later.
How many do you think, Dave? First of all, right, as a reference point to people.
Well, one number we had from New York, and I think there was more, was 300,000.
Okay, so 300,000 in a world of 8 billion. If
no. Hang on.
Go on.
Same thing was happening here in England, because at the same time. It was the Oliver Twist, all these children doing
orphans,
adult jobs and all that. The same thing was happening in Russia as well.
Wow.
So thousands and thousands and thousands of children were being transported all over the world.
It's actually well documented, isn't it, in Russia as well?
Well documented. But in this country, they were being shipped to Australia, South Africa, Canada, whatever.
So when you say well documented, Dom, does that mean that there was basically mothers who died at birth, or
if they
documented it by saying that
no mother? If they're a clone, there's no mother.
Now, I know that, but what I'm saying is, if that's the case, then they would have been well documented saying that these are clones, but. Where the mothers died. Is this kind of war?
All that was documented was there's lots and lots of children appeared from nowhere.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe that yes, they can create the bodies. Yeah, it's a simple biological process.
Yeah.
But they couldn't create the I am, the self-reflexive.
What about the spirit? What about the spirit inside?
That's what I'm saying. Because it turns out there's a whole population of people in the world today who don't have an inner monologue.
Right.
They don't have that voice.
I agree.
Right. And I believe they're the Muggles, because if you were to explain something to me, in my head I'd be going, that's interesting. Oh, I wonder if that connects to a video I watched last week. Or, I've got to remember to ask him this. I'd be analysing what you're saying in real time, making connections and forming my own opinion. If you don't have that voice, how do you do that? You can't.
So also, I'm just going back on your whatever you call it, analogy story there. If you were going to infiltrate a race or like they do with plants or whatever, they insert a rogue whatever genetics into it, and then in 5 generations' time, you've got an orange carrot, for argument's sake.
So, I mean, it would also explain why we can't get a cohesive thing going, because there's a whole load of the population who just will obey authority no matter what.
Totally. We saw that through COVID. Like even the ones that said, "Oh, I get it now because I'm not well." They're still not gonna get the next thing that's coming, which is the digital ID. That's why I'm also concerned, because they never get it until they get it, kind of thing. It's not like an awakening to me. Well, it's like I'm sick, I'm ill now that I've had this. Now I understand. It's only because you're sick and ill. You didn't get an awakening. You just got the reaction to the thing. Oh, of course we have digital ID. Of course we will. Yeah, I'm sick, but I think digital ID is good. You know, that's again what's worrying me.
Well, I think, as I said, I'm seeing what they're doing, and I
think we're going to go now because we're all echoing. I think it's the system I'm using. Yeah. Anyway,
it was lovely chatting. Hey, Dave, do you want to come on one of my shows one day? Would you? I'd really love to have you on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Brilliant. I'll contact you. I'll ask my mate Dom to send me your details. I'd love to have you on the show and have some deep depth conversations, because my followers actually really love to hear different things as well. You know,
Well, if I can, just want to say one more thing. I think they're readying the alien invasion now.
Dave, we're going to have to save that to next time, my friend.
Yeah, I've got it written down here, pal. I've got it written down here.
We'll do it again. Okay, everybody. You can hear the problems we're having here. I'm going to go. Mark, say bye to everybody.
Love you all, guys. Thanks for joining us. And it was an absolute privilege to have Dave on today with us. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks, Dave, from the bottom of my heart. Yeah, you're a great guy. Love it.
Oh,
yeah. And likewise to everybody else out there. Cheers.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Stay there, fellas.